Association that are assembled here this morning for this discussion on the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And today is the turning of the clock to 2023. And last night there was some sort of celebration in the Karmi world. And if anyone noticed at all, it was completely superficial. This is the nature of material life. It is a superficial experience of so-called celebration. And all you can see is people talking nonsense. That's all that goes on in this world with the karmis carrying on with complete nonsense. And so we want to thank everybody in this group that understand the purpose of human life, which is to rise up to the transcendental platform of devotional service to a bona fide spiritual master. In our case, it is His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. And Prabhupada came from India in 1966. It was truly a historic event and has affected the modern world in an extremely positive manner. If you think about it, if Prabhupada had not shown up, where would this world be at? It would be an empty life for everyone. And through his efforts, he expanded the Sankirtan mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to every town and village of the world. And in our particular case, we're trying to expand it to every town and phone and TV in the world through the preaching method of the internet. So this is a great opportunity for all of us, and we're encouraging everyone in their local area to carry on with the work of cultivating new people. This cultivation of new people and they're creating a focus for them on Śrīla Prabhupada as Diksha and Siksha Guru is the same mood that we had when we first joined the Krishna Consciousness movement back in the early 70s. So this can be very enlivening to the devotional service of an individual. Extremely enlivening, because when you cultivate other people and encourage them, it also encourages you to become a better devotee. It's works in that way, that spreading Krishna consciousness to other people is a stimulant for you as an individual to rise up in your standard of Krishna consciousness. Because really what we're doing is trying to represent Prabhupada, in his teachings and philosophy, so that people will look favorably upon his mission and see it as a great success. Just before we start the class, I have a quote that I put up on the Facebook medium. That particular media is one way for us to reach other people in the material world at somewhat of a more accelerated rate. Like some of the posts that we do get quite a bit of response. This one in particular, I've had 3,000 views for this particular post on our Prabhupada Disciples Facebook group page. We get almost 8,000 impressions a week. So it's not a lot, but it's better than not, let's say. And our goal is to increase this connectivity as much as possible as we move forward into the new year. So I'll read this out, and then we'll. So this post has been fairly popular, like I said, and it gives an idea of what people really want to hear when they are looking up the philosophy of Krishna consciousness through us. First, we must focus on ourselves as devotees, following the process of bhakti yoga. Then and only then can we help others. This is not a process of telling others what to do, but showing people by good example what to do. This is how our Śrīla Prabhupāda showed us, by his amazing example. Follow in the footsteps of the great souls. That is our individual mission. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada, further states, the world stands in no need of any reformer. The world has a very competent person, God, for guiding its minutest happenings. The person who determines that there is scope for reform of the world himself stands in need of reform. The world goes on in its own perfect way. No person can detect it, even the breadth of a hair, from the course chalked out for it by providence. When we perceive any change being actually affected in the course of the events of this world by the agency of any particular individual, we must know very well that the agent possesses no real power at any stage. The agent finds himself driven forward by a force belonging to a different category from himself. The course of the world does not require to be changed by the agency of any person. What is necessary is to change our outlook on this world. And that outlook, this comes from the excerpt from the lecture, Reforming the Reformer, printed in The Harmonist in May 1932, issue number 11. So in essence, what we're saying, what Bhaktisiddhanta is saying is that first of all, every devotee has to concentrate on their own personal spiritual life. That means following the regulative principles and chanting the rounds, eating prasadam, and distributing Prabhupada's books, and spreading the Krishna Consciousness movement wherever you are in the most effective manner that you can manufacture or create for yourself. So we want to carry on with the class now. We're heading in further into the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam class, and we're reading from the original 1962 version by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. First, we'll have a short kirtan by Prabhupada, and he'll sing Jaya Radha Madhava, the bhajan. Hare Krishna.
Yasodā-nandana Dāsa Yasodā-nandana Jamuna Tira Banachari All glories to the All glories to the Thank you very much.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam. Narayanam Namaskrityam. Naram Cheva Narottamam. Naram Cheva Narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Tato Jayam Mudirayet. Tato Jayam Mudirayet. One should utter the means of conquest, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Nara Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Ishvara Vyasadeva, the author. This is from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, text number 4. People may ask, well, what is the real benefit of hearing or reading Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam? We see in Canto number 1, Chapter number 2, text number 19. Shrinvatam Svakata Krishnam. Text number 18. Shrinvatam Svakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Ridyanta Stoya Badrani Vidunoti Suritsatam. I stand corrected. I read from text number 17, chapter 2. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is also the Paramatma in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, does cleanse the desire for material enjoyment in the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge for hearing his Krishna's messages, which are themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Text number 18 reads, Nashtaprayeshu Babadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regular attendance in the Bhagavatam class or rendering service unto the pure devotees, all that is inauspicious in the heart of a candidate becomes destroyed almost to nil, and thus loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental song, comes into being an irrevocable fact. Next text. As soon as irrevocable loving service is fixed in one's heart, at that time, the effects of the nature's mode of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and anchorings, etc., do disappear from one's heart, and he becomes fixed in the mode of goodness, which makes him completely happy. Text number 20. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate. Thus, when one is positively fixed in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the enlivened-minded man, affected by contact of devotional service of the Lord, can positively know scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. Next text, number 21. Vidyate hridaye grantis chidyante sarvasamshayaha shiyante chasya karmani drishta evatmanishvare. The knot of one's heart is thus pierced, and all misgivings are cut into pieces. The chain of fruitive actions are terminated along with the seeing of oneself, the dominating factor. So today we'll be reading from Canto 1, Chapter 1. Believe we have text number 11.
Yeah, that's right.
Bhurini bhuri karmani shrotavyani vibhagashah atah sadhu atratat jatsaram samudritya manishaya bruhi badraya bhutanam yenatma suprasidati. Bhurini, multifarious. Bhuri, many. Karmani, duties. Shrotavyani, to be learned. Vibhagashaha, by division of subject matter. Ataha, therefore. Sadhu, O the sage. Atra, herein. Yat, whatever. Samudritya, by selection. Manishaya, best to your knowledge. Bruhi, please tell us. Badraya, for the good of. Bhutanam, for the living beings. Yena, by which. Atma, self. Suprasidati, becomes fully satisfied. Translation by Śrīla Prabhupāda. There are multifarious varieties of scriptures, and in all of them, there are many, many prescribed duties which are to be learned for many, many years, even by division of subject matters. O the sage, please therefore select out the essence of all such scriptures and explain it for the good of all living beings, so that they may become fully satisfied in heart by such instruction. Purport by His Divine Grace. Atma or self is distinguished from matter and material elements. It is spiritual in constitution, and as such, Atma is never satisfied by any number of plannings in the material field. All scriptures and instruction in spiritual values are meant for the satisfaction of the same self or Atma. But the mode of approach are of different varieties. Such multifarious varieties are recommended for different types of living being in different times and at different places. Therefore, the number of revealed scriptures are innumerable. There are different methods of prescribed duties in those multifarious scriptures, taking into consideration of the fallen condition of the people in general of this age of Kali. The sages of Naimisharanya suggested to Śrīla Sukadeva Goswami for picking up the essence of all such scriptures, because in this age, it is not possible for the fallen souls to undergo the lessons of all such scriptures in a systematic division of Varna and Ashram. The Varna and Ashram society amongst the human being was considered to be the best institution for uplifting human being to the spiritual plane. And due to the awkward time, it is not possible to execute the rules and regulations of that institution. Neither it is possible for the people in general to quit completely connection of family life as it is prescribed by the Varnashram institution. The whole atmosphere is surcharged with opposing elements. In considering all these in total, spiritual emancipation of the common man in this age is a difficult job. And why the matter was presented before Sri Sutta Goswami is explained as follows. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, Śrīla Prabhupāda, who has opened my eyes from the darkness of ignorance with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatihi Visheshatah Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is a very important text where the sages of Naimisharanya are asking a very relevant question. We previously discussed how the great sages in total asked 6 major questions from Sutta Goswami. And this particular question in text number 11, they're asking to find out, select out the essence of all such scriptures and explain it for the good of all living beings so that they may become fully satisfied in heart by such instruction. So Prabhupada is explaining here that there are numerous different scriptures which give various levels of instruction. Now, it's quite understand those who are familiar with Vedic literatures, with the Vedas, there are many different instructions on different level. There's Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, Upasana Kanda. There are different levels of instruction according to the different modes of nature for different persons situated in these various modes. Now, the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is completely transcendental to any material instruction or religiosity. Śrīla Prabhupada explains in the first chapter, first verse of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, how the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is meant, paramo nirmacharanam satam, for those who are free from envy or are serious about becoming free from envy. This is the disease in the material world. Everybody is affected and inflicted with this disease of envy. Devotees sometimes, they like to discuss how we fell in the material world, how we got here, all of this. Well, the primary reason is that we are envious of Krishna. That's why we're put in the material world. That's why we are in this situation. And to become free from that envy, to become absolutely devoid of any materialistic envy, one has to follow in the path of the great acharyas. We see in the Mahabharata, it is described, Dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam mahajano yena gatasa pantaha. That there are many. Dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam. The real path of religion is very secret, guhyam, guhayam. It is not easy to understand. So how to understand? Mahajano yena gatasa panta want us to follow in the footsteps of the great Mahajan. Because in this age of Kali, it is not so easy. It is not so easy. We have seen in the previous text, Prayena alpayusha sabhyakalo asmin yuge janaha mandaha sumanda matayo manda bhagya yupadruta. That in this age of Kali, the people in general are lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, they're always disturbed. And in addition to that, prayena alpa ayusha. Ayusha means duration of life. Alpa ayusha means short duration of life. We all know that in previous yugas, in previous ages, the duration of life was much longer. For example, in the previous age, the Dwapara Yuga, the average duration of life was 1,000 years. In the Treta Yuga, the average duration of life was 10,000 years. In the Satya Yuga, or the Golden Age, the average duration of life was 100,000 years. And Prabhupada explained in one conversation that everybody was a Paramamsa. But as the ages progresses, the influence of the modes of nature, specifically the mode of passion and the mode of ignorance, takes place. And people, especially in this age of Kali Yuga, are not so interested in spiritual advancement. They're interested in mundane activities, primarily based on the basis of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Ahar nidra bayamai tunamcha. Because we see, Prabhupada also explained in text number 10 that in this age, many unscrupulous men manufacture imaginary religious faith without any reference to the standard Vedic literatures of the revealed scriptures, and persons who are addicted to the above mentioned different types of sense gratificatory institutions are attracted by such institutions of religious faith. So this is the problem in this age. It is not so easy to find bona fide spiritual understanding, substantial spiritual understanding. We see in the Bhagavad Gita, we've discussed this before in chapter 4, text number 42, the last two sentences of the purport. Śrīla Prabhupada is describing how one should be aware of self-interested persons who are after sense gratification, who are misleading people. This is very, very dangerous situation. One time, Śrīla Prabhupada was in Hawaii, near the waterfront, with many senior disciples, and he stopped, and he looked at everybody, and he quoted a verse from the Padma Purana, Guravo Bahavo Shanti Shishya Vittapaharakaha. This is a conversation between Lord Shiva and Parvati, his wife, that there are many gurus. Guravo Bahavo Shanti Shishya Vittapaharakaha. Shishya Vitta means the wealth or the money of the disciple. They're very expert. Shishya Vittapaharakaha. Durlabha Sadguru Devi. But, O Devi, it is very rare, Durlabha, to find a Sadguru, a bona fide, authentic guru. Shishya Shantapaharakaha, who is very expert in taking away the miseries and the suffering of the disciple. Well, somebody may say, how do I find that? The answer is the guru has already found you. Śrīla Prabhupada has already found you. How is that? How is that? Through his books, through his teachings, through his instruction. One can associate directly with Śrīla Prabhupada by reading his unadulterated books, his non-revised, non-adulterated books. Prabhupada says in a lecture in Atlanta on March 2nd, 1975. If you don't keep in touch with the original link, then it will be lost. And if you keep touch with the original link, then you're directly hearing Krishna. Similarly, Krishna and Krishna's representative, spiritual master, if you keep always intact and link with the words and instructions of the superior authorities, then you're always fresh. That is spiritual understanding. Because the question comes up, well, what about a living person? What about a physically present person? Well, why do we approach a guru in the first place? Whether living or not living, why do we approach him? To get spiritual understanding, to get spiritual enlightenment, to get spiritual knowledge, to solve the problems of life. Prabhupada describes in the third canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, 31st chapter, text number 8, it is described here that one is to associate with liberated persons, not directly, physically, but by understanding through philosophy and logic, the problems of life. And this is what Śrīla Prabhupada is giving. This is the greatest contribution of this powerful Acharya, of this empowered Acharya. He's giving that information, that transcendental knowledge, unalloyed transcendental knowledge. Because without that understanding, it is not possible to become free from this material entanglement. There was a very interesting conversation with Śrīla Prabhupada and a few of his disciples in 1975 in San Francisco, California, on the 21st of July. Devotee, so those disciples who don't have opportunity to see you or speak with you, Śrīla Prabhupada, that he was speaking, Vani and Vapu, even if you don't see his body, you take his word, Vani, devotee. But how do they know they're pleasing you, Śrīla Prabhupada? Prabhupada, if you actually follow the words of Guru, that means he's pleased. And if you do not follow, how he can be pleased? Sudama. Not only that, but your mercy is spread everywhere. And if we take advantage, you told us once, then we will feel the result. Śrīla Prabhupada, yes. Jayadvaita. And if we have faith in what the Guru says, then automatically we'll do that. Śrīla Prabhupada, yes. My Guru Maharaj passed in 1936. And I started this movement in 1965, 30 years after. Then I am getting the mercy of Guru. This is Vani. Even though the Guru is not physically present, if you follow the Vani, then you are getting help. Sudama. So there is no question of ever separation as long as the disciple follows the instruction of Guru. Śrīla Prabhupada, no. Chakshudana Diloje, what is that next one? Sudama. Chakshudana Diloje, Janme Janme Prabhu se. Śrīla Prabhupada, Janme Janme Prabhu se. So where there is separation, who has opened your eyes? He is, birth after birth, your Prabhu. Again, the foregoing was a conversation with Śrīla Prabhupada in San Francisco, California on July 21st, 1975. Now, this is a very important point because Prabhupada numerous times emphasized that the Vani, the instruction of the spiritual master, is always more important than the Vapu. Of course, it was very special to have the association of the Vapu of Śrīla Prabhupada. I mean, nowadays, with this modern technology, anybody can get both. You can see Prabhupada, you can hear Prabhupada, you can hear Prabhupada chanting japa, you can hear Prabhupada giving a Bhagavatam class. So many instructions are there. You can hear Prabhupada chanting the Maha Mantra. Prabhupada chanting the Shikshastakam, Śrīla Prabhupada chanting the Goswami-astakam. It is there. It is not difficult. Simply, we have to develop submissive oral reception. Then all benefits is there. This issue came up in 1969 in a Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam class on January 13th, 1969 in Los Angeles, California. Prabhupada explains, this is a very important point here. Similarly, Arche Shiladir Gurushu. Gurushu means those who are acharyas to accept their body as ordinary man's body. This is denied in the Shastras. So although a physical body is not present, the vibration should be accepted as the presence of the spiritual master, vibration. What we have heard from the spiritual master, that is living. Again, this was a Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam class in Los Angeles, California on January 13th, 1969. So the point is, anyone can associate with Śrīla Prabhupada, can accept him as his spiritual master. Prabhupada is available now for those who care to hear. And the duty of the disciple is to learn the art of submissive hearing. To learn the art of submissive hearing and to simply, repeatedly hear Śrīmad-Bhagavad Gita, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita from the mouth of Śrīla Prabhupada by hearing, reading his books, associating with devotees. This is a very important point, very important point. So I'll cut short my talking and we'll open the discussion for anybody who has comments, questions, remarks, admonishments, chastisements, questions. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Viśvakarmā Prabhu. Prabhu, you're on mute still.
Click it off. I apologize. I wanted to go, thank you very much, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, for that wonderful class. And so many interesting points were brought up in this particular verse today. In the purport, it talks about the Varnashram system. And this has been a topic of discussion over the last month or so, being brought up by some members of the Prabhupada Disciples Association, some new members. So I thought this is also important to review again, to understand really what our purpose in practicing Krishna consciousness is, as opposed to dealing specifically with a person's occupational duty. Because occupational duties are of great varieties. Everyone has different propensities to do things, to survive in the material world. And especially in the Kali Yuga here, in the modern age here, it's quite different than the historic situation in India, where there was these different classes of people: the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, the Sudras, the sannyasis, the Varnaprasthas, the Grihastas, and the Brahmacharis. So we are in these different orders naturally by our activity. But here it's mentioned that, I'll go back to the purport. There are different methods of prescribed duties in those multifarious scriptures. taking into consideration of the fallen condition of the people in general in this age of Kali, the sages of Naimisharanya suggested to Śrīla Sutta Goswami for picking up the essence of such scriptures, because in this age, it is not possible for the fallen souls to undergo the lessons of all such scriptures in systematic division of Varna and Ashram. The Varna and Ashram society amongst the human being was Prabhupada uses the term, or the word was considered to be the best institution for uplifting human beings to the human being to the spiritual plane. And due to the awkward time, it is not possible to execute the rules and regulations of that institutions. Neither is it possible for people in general to quit complete connection of family life as it is prescribed by the Varnashram institution. So he's making an allowance here in terms of how we should apply ourselves. The whole atmosphere is surcharged with opposing elements, and considering all of these in total, spiritual emancipation of the common man in this age is a difficult job. So I've been reading forward in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and in the Lord's Chaitanya's travels to the holy places, this same question was brought up by the chief of the Tattvavada community, who was a very learned in the revealed scriptures. This is Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 9, text, beginning at text 254. That's Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 9, text 254. The chief Acharya of the Tattvavada community was very learned in the revealed scriptures. Out of humility, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu questioned him. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "I do not know very well the aim of life and how to achieve it. Please tell me the best ideal for humanity and how to achieve it." Text 256. The Acharya replied, so this is a conversation between the both, and he's giving his answer. Lord Chaitanya is asking him. So he answers, when the activities of the 4 castes and the 4 ashrams are dedicated to Krishna, they constitute the best means whereby one can attain the highest goal of life. Text 257. When one dedicates the duties of Varnashram Dharma to Krishna, he is eligible for 5 kinds of liberation. Thus he is transferred to the spiritual world in Vaikuntha. This is the highest goal of life and the verdict of all revealed scriptures. So he gives a solid point here in terms of Varnashram. Now, Lord Chaitanya responds. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, according to the Vedic verdict of the Shastras, the process of hearing and chanting is the best means to attain loving service to Krishna. Very direct here. So first responsibility is to engage your senses, the sense of hearing, and the tongue for chanting. And in this way, one can achieve the goal of spiritual life. The goal, we're looking for the end result. Purport by Śrīla Prabhupāda. According to the Tattvavadis, the best process is to execute the duties of the 4 varnas and ashrams. In the material world, unless one is situated in one of the varnas, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudra, one cannot manage social affairs properly to attain the ultimate goal. One has to follow the principles of the ashrams, brahmachari, grihastha, varnaprastha, and sannyas, which are considered essential for the attainment of the highest goal. In this way, the Tattvavadi established the execution of the principles of Varna and ashram for the sake of Krishna, and is the best way to attain the topmost goal. Okay. The Tattvavadis thus established their principles in terms of human society. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, however, deferred when he said that the best process is hearing and chanting about Lord Vishnu. According to the Tattvavadis, the highest goal is returning home back to Godhead. But in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's opinion, the highest goal is attaining love of Godhead, either in the material or spiritual world. In the material world, this is practiced according to Shastric injunction. And in the spiritual world, the real achievement is already there. I'll finish here this last 259, 260. This process entails hearing, chanting, and remembering the holy name, form, pastimes, qualities, and entourage of the Lord, offering service according to the time, place, and performer, worshiping the deity, offering prayers, always considering oneself the eternal servant of Krishna, making friends with him, and dedicating everything unto him. These 9 items of devotional service, when directly offered to Krishna, constitute the highest attainment of life. This is the verdict of revealed scriptures. Text 261. When one comes to the process, the platform of loving service to Lord Krishna, by executing these 9 processes, he has attained the 5th platform of success and the limit of life's goals. So this goes on. It's a very relevant section of Chaitanya Charitamrita to give us insight into the essence of our philosophy and how to practice Krishna consciousness with a short duration of life. In the other yugas, the lifespan was much longer. But in this Kali Yuga, we're only destined to live, say, up to 100 years, if you're lucky. Every day we see there's a cacophony of information coming in the media of who died. This person died, that person died. There's no guarantee that you will live on, no matter what age you're at. All kinds of padam, vipadam. There's all kinds of danger at every step in the material world. So at any moment, you can be called to leave this body. And so the most important thing is to be prepared. preparation is the essence. And the way you prepare is described here in the Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita through the process of constantly hearing and chanting. So this focus on these two aspects of devotional service are key to making advancement. Some people, they think, oh, I don't have to chant my rounds. I've asked a few God brothers that question. Do you chant your rounds? Oh, that's a private question. Don't ask me that. Oh, private, eh? What's so private about 16 rounds? I know it takes 2 hours approximately to chant your rounds. Is there something else you've got to do that's more important than chant your rounds? We have a few people that have joined our group and the Prabhupada Disciples Association, and they've been sending me thank yous that they've taken up through our encouragement. They're chanting of rounds, not missing them at any time throughout the year. There are 365 days left in this year. That means there's 365 days of 16 rounds minimum that we're going to chant. That's over 28,000 names every day. So 28,000 times 365. How much is that, Venkat? Tell me. Do the calculation right away.
28,000 times 365. It's 102. 10,220,000.
10 million. Okay, so that's our New Year's resolution, that we're going to chant 20 million names of Krishna this year for all the members. The reason I'm adding in an extra 10 million is because we've got to chant extra. And we should also remember we're doing kirtans. You have to chant kirtan as well, not just japa. You know, you can chant on and on, like if you've been chanting for 50 years at that rate, then that's over almost 1 billion names. It takes a lot of effort to become purified of material desire. So the point that I'm making is never, ever give up. Do not stop. Keep going. And in the end, Krishna will bless us with his causeless mercy at the time of death. Just before we get to Jiva Goswami, I'm going to ask Yaśodā just to make a quick comment, and then we'll have Jiva Goswami with his question.
Yeah, I just want to bring up a point, because many times devotees ask, well, what is the real meaning of reading these books? Because we keep telling people that by reading the book, somebody is hearing from Prabhupada or associating with Prabhupada. Let me just quote from a lecture that Prabhupada gave in Vrindavan during the Nectar of Devotion lectures on October 20th, 1972 in Vrindavan, India. Prabhupada explains, as Narottam Das Thakur has sung, Tandera Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanivas, one's aim of life should be to serve the Acharyas, Acharya Upasanam. So our Acharya in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, the Sri Rup Sanatana, Bhatta Raghunath, Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath, the 6 Goswamis, and if we associate with them, this book, Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, if you read regularly, try to understand this, means you are associating with Śrīla Rupa Goswami directly. And if you act accordingly, then you are serving their lotus feet. Tandera Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanivas. Again, this was from a lecture by Śrīla Prabhupada in Vrindavan, India, on October 20th, 1972. So this is the same point what Viśvakarmā Prabhu mentioned. When we chant the Maha Mantra, this is direct association with Krishna. In the Padma Purana, it is described that this name of Krishna, Nama, is non-different than the Nami, than Krishna himself, the person. Yes, Jiva Goswami Prabhu. Hare Krishna, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I had a question in this Varna Ashram discussion. Since you had association with Śrīla Prabhupāda's Vapu, can you tell us what it was like to experience, let's say, for example, his family visiting him in India and interacting with him? What was it like with his sister and his sons, etc.? How did they treat him?
Well, Śrīla Prabhupada was very respectful to everybody, whether it was a rickshaw driver or his disciples or his family. Prabhupada was simultaneously very detached. He was not attached like a regular materialistic person. And at the same time, he was very kind to them. I mean, Prabhupada basically was trying to engage everybody, including his own family members. You know, the members of the family of a pure devotee are very fortunate, whether it's Bhaktivedanta Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Śrīla Prabhupada. These are very empowered acharyas. These are very special souls. And every word they spoke, every action they did is for the benefit of conditioned souls of everybody, even their family. I mean, Śrīla Prabhupada gave so many instructions to so many persons, including his disciples. Why did he give so much instruction? Why did he sacrifice so much? To benefit them, to elevate them, to give them the connection with Krishna. Just like we see here that Prabhupada is quoting Tandera Charana Sevi Bhaktasanivas, that one should desire that association with devotees. And this was the essence of everything Prabhupada did, whether it was with his family members, his disciples, a rickshaw driver, or anybody. Let me tell the little story, for example. We were on a morning walk in Vrindavan in 1974. And we were walking near the Keshi Ghat. Keshi Ghat is where Lord Krishna killed the Keshi demon. Now, near the Keshi Ghat, there is an old temple there where Śrīla Prabhupada, before he went to Radha Damodar temple to translate his books, he lived there for a while. There's near Keshi Ghat. So there's a very beautiful, big, huge house, a 3-story house. And Prabhupada had a room and he had a view of the Yamuna. So near that place there, one morning there was an old Vaishnava that came there. And this Vaishnava had a little bit of a beard. He was very old. He was hunched over. And basically he was chanting. And when Prabhupada saw him, he lunged forward to embrace him. And we're looking at this like, what? Who is this person? So afterward, and Prabhupada started to spoke in Hindi with him. He was smiling and they were talking, very happy. When this person left, Prabhupada said, this is the person that helped me get that room near the Keshi Ghat. He was an old friend of Śrīla Prabhupada. And it was quite an amazing experience how this person got so much mercy and we couldn't comprehend this interaction. So Prabhupada behaved in many different ways. I saw another interaction with one disciple who had gone to Radhakund. And he came back with Radhakund beads, Radhakund tilak. And Śrīla Prabhupada, this was in 1974 while they were building Śrīla Prabhupada's house. At that point in time, the Krishna Balaram temple had not been built yet. The guest house had not been built. They were still building Prabhupada's house. So Prabhupada came out in the back of the house and we were living in little huts along the wall. So Prabhupada took a brick that was laying there and he was ready to throw it at this devotee. And we looked at this like, and Prabhupada was screaming at him, telling him, who are you? Who told you to go to Radhakund? Who gave you permission to go to Radhakund? Why you're doing this? Why you're acting independently? And Prabhupada severely chastised him. So this is another example of His Divine Grace exhibiting very different moods, different interactions with many different types of devotees. Yes, Viśvakarmā Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Jiva Goswami, I wanted to also respond to your question. It was, I wish I had a more vivid memory of this, but I believe it was in 1974. I was in Mayapur, India, at the Gaur Purnima festival. And it was a tradition for us to travel to India every year. I went from 73 to 70. Actually, after Prabhupada left, I went for 10 years in a row. But all the time that Prabhupada was with us personally, I had an opportunity to go to the festival and to be part of the group that had the opportunity to be with him. Well, I was a brahmachari at the time, and there was a request for someone to help in the kitchen, to help his sister, Pishima. Pishima? I believe that's the word, sister of Śrīla Prabhupāda, to help her in the kitchen. So Jiva Goswami, guess what I did? I took advantage of the opportunity, and I went and helped her in the kitchen. And she looked like a family member. She had, a female family member. And what she did was she affectionately prepared Prabhupada's prasadam for him while she was with us in Sridham Mayapur. And it was a brother-sister relationship, because, brothers and sisters, they get along sometimes. And they go out of their way for each other. That's just the way it is. And I personally saw that she was very, very committed intently to cooking nicely for her brother, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. So it was a really wonderful opportunity for me to get a chance to serve her as she served her brother in cooking prasadam for him. So that's a pastime that you aroused in me. Like I said, I wish I could have grasped the ecstasy of having this opportunity to be in association with Śrīla Prabhupada and his family member, his sister. Also, I noticed there was a very interesting question that came up in the chat. Vinkat, could you read the question? It's about the Varnashram system, that there's apparently some contradiction. Could you read that for us?
Okay. Yeah. Bhaktin Krishna Mataji, she's asking, I wonder why Prabhupada wanted to implement Varnashram and says it was 50% of his mission. In today's class, I am understanding that he is also saying that Varnashram is not possible in Kali Yuga, and the best is to hear and chant about Krishna. Can you kindly explain this contradiction?
I'll insert initially, and then maybe we can open it up to the floor, of course, to discuss. I mean, the introduction of a system for people to live based on Varnashram Dharma is a wonderful system that he wanted to introduce, and he tried to do that in New Vrindavan, for example, in Girinagri here in the Western world, and was encouraging it otherwise to get people, to get the devotees to move out of the cities, because the cities are a very difficult for devotees to live in. They're in the mode of passion. And it would be more attractive for them to live separate, to be on their own, away from all the temptations of the Kali Yuga that are present in the cities. So it was his intention to set these separate communities up and have the devotees assemble there and then move around in the society and help the conditioned souls become aware of how to take up the path of Krishna consciousness through the mercy of the Vaishnavas, the devotees. And incidentally, we have a friend who's working with a community in South India. I think it's called Karana. Maybe Rincott knows. It's devotee Rathayatra and Mahamsa Swami. And they have a farming community there, which is secluded, very transcendentally pure. The atmosphere is amazing. I've seen the pictures of the buildings, and I've talked to Rathayatra, who's a big book distributor. He's committed to, he's been selling Prabhupada's books, the original unadulterated books, for 50 years. He's very serious about book distribution. And right now he's out distributing the Gitas away from the farm. And I did speak to him a couple of days ago, and he certainly invited members of the Prabhupada Disciples Association that are interested in living in a farming community, which is Prabhupada focused, to come and live with them in South India. And if anybody has any desire or interest in that, they could do it. But this is, so we should do both. Yes, it's very difficult to get that organized. I had my own farm. I tried to organize it here in Ontario when I was president. Very, very difficult. We didn't have the manpower. We didn't have the infrastructure to be able to enable it to unfold. So here in South India, it appears that they've got all kinds of support coming from various people to establish like a Varnashram system where people are engaged according to their propensities, their abilities, and the community is centered around practicing Krishna consciousness through hearing and chanting. So I'd like to refer this further to Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu for his comments on this question. Very good question. Thank you very much for providing the question for the group.
In 1977, in August of 1977, Śrīla Prabhupada rang his bell late at night, and he requested the late secretary and my insignificant self to come to his room. So we went to his room, and Prabhupada made that statement that I've done 50% of my work by writing my books, and the other 50% is the establishment, Prabhupada used that word, development of Varnashram, and Prabhupada used the word self-sufficient farms. Now, there seems to be some kind of misconception with certain individuals that this is some kind of, because there are numerous statements from Śrīla Prabhupada in different conversation, in different books, we should institute Varnashram. Other times, Prabhupada has said that Varnashram in the age of Kali Yuga is not possible. There's places in Chaitanya Charitamrita where Lord Chaitanya basically told Ramananda Roy not to focus so much on Varnashram, to focus on hearing the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So we have to put all of this into proper context. Prabhupada could see, as a Trikalagnya, or knower of past, present, and future, a perfect yogi, besides being a pure devotee, he knew there would be a lot of problems in society in the future, 45 years ago. So he's giving instructions that this idea of developing self-sufficient farms should be a major emphasis of the preaching. Now, we know that this was never given much emphasis by many individuals or misleaders in this movement, who basically chose to emphasize a different aspect, some nonsensical self-promotion of their guru system. But the instruction by Śrīla Prabhupada is still there to try to develop Varnashram. Prabhupada also requested, please take me to Gita Nagari and I will personally show you how to do this. Unfortunately, his health was not very good at the time. He ended up going to London for a few weeks and then came back to Vrindavan. So this basically is a little bit of the context of that instruction. But even if somebody is not in a situation, or you're in an ideal situation where in a farm or out in the country, even if you get a couple of pots outside of your porch or outside of your house where you can just trying to develop something, trying to develop some system of trying to grow some food. Yes, Shyamasundar Prabhu from Australia, please speak. Hare Krishna. Shyamasundar?
Oh, yes. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu, and all the Prabhus. A great conversation. Just wanted to ask you, please, if you could delineate the difference between Daivi Varnashram and Varnashram, mainly because my understanding was that the Daivi Varnashram was more relevant to the Krishna Consciousness movement, and the Varnashram system was more of a very established and lengthy system that belonged to another age. Thank you very much.
Well, basically, Daivi Varnashram is a term that was coined by His Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, specifically with reference to Daivi Varnashram is based on qualification, not birth. In India, there's many smarta Brahmins, caste Brahmins, caste Goswamis, and many other misguided persons who are misrepresenting the real meaning of Varnashram. Because that system, as we know in Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 4, Krishna explained, Chaturvarnyam Maya system, Guna Karma Vibhagasaha, that this system was established by Krishna himself. It is not a caste system as is commonly misunderstood by certain individuals. This is a natural system of organizing human society with an intelligent class of men, an administrative and martial class of men, a business community or, Vaishyas, and a laborer class of men, along with 4 ashramas for celibate students, householders, retired persons, and sannyasis, or renounced persons. And this system is meant to basically work in harmony with one another. But it's very difficult to do this in the current setup of Western civilization, especially with the emphasis on this working all day, working the whole life, getting a mortgage, running around. This is very difficult. It's based on simple living, high thinking. Now we have it the other way around, very poor thinking and complicated living. This is the current system in the human society, especially in the Western countries, all over the world, which is basically emphasis on materialistic pursuits. Whereas the real Varnashram is to minimize the bodily necessities in the endeavor to basically grow food simply and spend more time developing spiritual understanding. So that, in a nutshell, is the basic difference. But it's possible to develop self-sufficiency. Some people do it. I know in Australia, they had a very nice farm in Morwalamba. I don't know what has happened to that farm and how it has been developed and what has been done, but there's a lot of different places, even in the ISKCON society, where they have the facilities. Whether or not the emphasis is there, that is a question. Prabhupada was speaking of emphasis. He wanted this system emphasized. He wanted the leaders of this movement to develop this. If it has not been developed, well, better late than never. Start and do it, increase it. There's a lot of good devotees who are doing this. In Northern California, there's a devotee named Narasimha. Damagosha in Oregon is doing it. There's other devotees doing it. It's simply a matter of, focusing and trying to get it done. Hare Krishna.
I wanted to further discuss this. When you're talking varnashram, you're also dealing with not only with the varna. Let's divide it into two. You've got varna and you have ashram. So the ashram principle is really a very critical part of your spiritual development. So unfortunately, in the modern world, people are not trained up at their early age how to take up spiritual life. So ashram means brahmachari. So brahmachari means celibacy. This is an ashram where you practice celibacy. And then you move into the griha. If you cannot maintain your celibate status and you feel compelled to associate with a woman, then there is permission for the brahmachari to move into the grihastha ashram with a specific mandate to take care of family life. Ashram, grihastha ashram. Again, another form of celibacy, actually. Prabhupada would explain to us that it's for procreation. So that's much different than Hollywood love. It's an ashram. And then from there, you move forward into Varnaprastha at the age of 50 years of age. It's very difficult for most people to do that. Ashram. A lot of people are staying married. I'm seeing it. In my particular situation, I'm separated. I'm away from my married life by circumstance. That happens too. A lot of things happen. So in a sense, it was unfortunate, but at this age, it is a blessing. I'm 75 years of age. So, but it's for a progressive renunciation. Ashram, that's what it's about. I think a lot of people have a confusion. They think it's being a farmer. It's not about being a farmer. It's understanding people in Varna and ashram according to their propensity. You know, a farmer, he's a Vaishya. There are Kshatriyas, there are administrators, there are Brahmins, like that. They're engaged according to their propensity. Like we have people here in my area that are businessmen. So we engage them accordingly in doing business for Krishna. That's the idea. As far as farming, even here at this ashram in Hamilton, our whole land is a garden. The front yard is a garden. Many of you have seen the pictures of it. The backyard is a garden. This year we're already making plans to grow food, to set example in the city for other people to do the same thing in this pandemic era of madness, that everybody's counting on the fact that they're going to get food, but the chain of connection between of distribution may collapse. So try to grow your own food, show example to do it. But in terms of Varna, whatever your propensity is, you should engage that in Krishna's service. And then the conclusion of it is, be focused on your sadhana, hearing, chanting, remembering, being a part of the process of devotional service. That's what this is about. This Varna ashram system, that's fine. But remember, first is your ashram. That's most important, not your Varna. And then you take your Varna, whatever you're doing, you engage it in Krishna's service. For example, Prabhupada gave the example of a businessman. If you make millions of dollars, what should you do with your money? Well, you take 50% of it and you engage it in Krishna's service. That's part of this Varnashram system. It's not growing tomatoes. Okay, that's a good thing. I'm not trying to minimize that. But let's do an analysis of the words, what they mean, what an ashram means. So we're getting close to the end of the class. Any last comments, please? Oh, Ananda Baya. Yeah. Ananda Baya, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yes, and at the same time, Prabhupada made statements that there will be a war, there will be atom bombs dropped on the large cities. Get out of the cities. And a lot of astrologers are forecasting, Vedic astrologers are forecasting that time could be very soon. It could be this year, 2023. And so my advice to anybody that lives in a big city right now, this is a dangerous time to live there. So maybe you would want to consider selling your house and buying a farm if you can. And invite me. Thank you.
Haribo, that's excellent. We're moving to the end of the class, and it's been a very wonderful discussion today. And thank everybody for their questions. I see there are more chats about Varnashram in the...
There were, Prabhu, there were a couple of other questions,
Yes.
2 questions.
Read them out. Yeah, let's
Okay.
read them out. Just let's not leave them out.
Okay.
Read them out.
Yeah, sure. So the first question was when by Robert Barron, in preaching, I find that people want to associate Krishna consciousness with a cult, which in turn paints a bad picture, and they cause offenses to the philosophy or to Krishna. So how do we deal with that? How can we not cause someone to offend the philosophy?
Someone want to answer that?
Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, you're on mute.
There will always be a class of people that will criticize Krishna consciousness or the practice of Krishna consciousness. That has been going on since time immemorial. As far as whether Krishna Consciousness Society or ISKCON is really presenting the original teachings of the Krishna Consciousness movement, that is debatable because of all the controversies that are still raging on so many levels. So it presents a wrong impression, a distorted impression of what is the real philosophy and what is the real application of Krishna consciousness as presented by Śrīla Prabhupāda. Just like in these classes we've discussed, there is one devotee from New Vrindavan who's currently in New Zealand, and he has coined the term post-Prabhupada books era. And when I first heard that, I was thinking, what is this nonsense idea of post-Prabhupada books era? This is offensive. This is ridiculous. Prabhupada books will be relevant for the next 9,500 years. But because they're not following Prabhupada's instruction, everything has become very political and polarized. Therefore, they're misrepresenting the philosophy. And that's why some people, along with so many other deviations, they look at the ISKCON society as a cult, because many of the leaders in ISKCON are behaving like cult leaders. We can go into the details on so many levels, the way devotees are treated, the way women are treated, the way children are treated or mistreated, the way the books are changed, so many deviations from the actual standard that Prabhupada has given. So that is why some people get the wrong impression that Krishna consciousness is a cult. It is not a cult. The original philosophy is not a cult. Simply one has to hear from Śrīla Prabhupada. That's why we have these readings, so we can understand what is Prabhupada giving. What is Prabhupada giving this Maha Mantra for? Why is Śrīla Prabhupada giving all these instructions? Are these instructions being followed properly in that society? On some level, it may be, but there's a lot of things to be done. This is a very important point. What is the difference between a bona fide religion that follows its teachings and a deviated, distorted cult? Is ISKCON currently a cult? Many people will say yes, because of the misrepresentation of the teachings. The first distortion is this bogus idea of the grammatical embellishment program, changing the books. Why are they changing the books? Because they want to change the philosophy. He has seen the truth and they have seen the truth. Very different, very different. Hare Krishna.
Haribol. I wanted to comment on the cult philosophy because I did have extensive experience with cult people. I actually debated a fellow Ted Patrick, who is the king of the deprogrammers. And we had an incident in Toronto where he came and kidnapped one of our members, Rudrani Devi Dasi, and took her away from the temple. It was quite, it was in 1975, and it was a very big story in the media. And they took her to Nova Scotia, which is on the east coast of Canada, and they hid her in a hotel, a motel room, Jiva Goswami. They had her in a motel. And we went ahead. There was a big TV show that we were on, and they were interviewing us because they were claiming we were brainwashed, that we were a cult group. We were like Jim Jones. Completely nonsense. Vinkat, what they were saying was, if you don't eat meat, you're undernourished. Undernourished. You don't eat meat. Back in the 70s, vegetarianism wasn't as popular as it has become by the influence of the Krishna Consciousness movement. Nowadays, everybody knows pretty much, that's aware that eating meat is bad for your health. But back then, if you didn't eat meat, then you were undernourished. Undernourished. Then they used this term, Jiva Goswami, they said, sleep deprivation. Oh, you guys get up at 3:30 in the morning. You're deprived of sleep. You can't think for yourself. Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Stupid. Sleep deprivation, just ridiculous. So they would take everything that Prabhupada was instructing us and turn it around and say, oh, well, if you don't eat meat, you're undernourished, you're weak-minded, you have no mental strength. If you get up early in the morning and you chant Hare Krishna, it's sleep deprivation. And then you repeat these mantras over and over again, the same thing, you're brainwashed. Prabhupada said, yes, we are brainwashing people. We're cleaning their brains of all dirty things. That's what we're doing. So this cult nonsense that came up in the past, nowadays, the mission that we were part of, they've totally compromised everything that they do. So as a result, nowadays, they've gone mainstream. You know, they even have gay marriage. They have this Krishna West group. It's Hridayananda. He wears karmi clothes all the time. No tilak, no neck beads, no japa beads, no danda, Nothing. So they're trying to fit in to the modern world, try to become part of it, be accepted as a regular spiritual, so-called spiritual group. So this cult thing, this is a bunch of nonsense, and it's just manufactured by other people. I'm going to end off with a brief pastime. I saw someone made a comment about bathing in Radhakunda, and I was in India. I believe some of you might be able to correct me. Could have been 1974, and we got permission to go to Radhakunda for the first time when we were at the Krishna Balaram Mandir. Prabhupada gave us permission, and we went there, and he said that we could bathe at the Radhakunda. So we got there. So we were Western devotees, and we thought bathing meant to go swimming. So I could still remember, with my gumshoe, jumping in the water. People were doing cannonballs, diving. I was swimming across. I almost drowned in the middle of Radhakunda. I was like, oh my God, I can't. Like I swam across Radhakunda, like everybody else. We all did that. Oh, and not later we found out, no, bathing means you go to the side of the kunda and you just take the water, put it on your head, not dive in, jump in, cannonballs, all that kind of stuff was going on. And it was, I wish you could see the videos. I could see it in my mind now. It was like about 200 of us. All the people, all the residents of Radhakunda were looking at it. What are these crazy people doing? So when we got back to Krishna Balaram Mandir, Prabhupada corrected us. He said, don't do that. But he gave an example, which was very interesting. He said, the kunda is like the lap of Radharani, and it's like the lap of the child. When the child walks on the lap of the mother, even with dirty feet, the mother doesn't mind. So it was an offensive action, but it wasn't taken as an offense with us. And because Prabhupada saw we were innocent in our enthusiasm to take the mercy of Radharani in the form of bathing in her kunda. So thank you, everyone. I'm sorry we're going to end. We're a little bit over time today, but this has been a very interesting conversation and an opportunity for all of us to get the Sadhu Sangha with the Prabhupada Disciples Association and its membership. And we want you to please extend an invitation to your friends, your warm market, to join us. Our next class, which is on Wednesday coming up this week, for the middle of the week, we're going to continue with the reading of Chaitanya Charitamrita, the original unadulterated version. And we look forward to seeing all of you at the class and some new faces. Also, if you have any questions that you want to ask further, please feel free to get in touch with us. You could get in touch with Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, or you can get in touch with myself and any of the other devotees in the association to answer your questions. And we carry on with learning about how to become better devotees in the service of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupāda Ki Jai. Let us have the Kirtan. Vinkat Prabhu.
Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Sri Viśvakarmā Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare
Vancha
Krishna. Thanks everybody for participating. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha
Kalpascha
kripa sindubhya evacha
Evacha
patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.